in a pretty bad car accident about 6 years ago. I was sideswiped by a semi-truck, went off of a 60-foot cliff, and experienced spinal injuries in all 3 sections of my spine, and to this day struggle with complications because of that. Cannabis is something that's very near and dear to my heart. I am very anti-pharmaceutical if you absolutely don't need it. It is under like a must situation for me, and that was from personal experience. And prior to my accident, I used to run all of the dental facilities on Camp Pendleton and Fort Irwin in Southern California. So I came from a very strict, stringent, detail-oriented work background into coming home to Seattle because that's where my family was from, and I wanted to be close to them after I went through my accident because I was having issues with walking. And cannabis was presented as a solution. And at that point in time, there were only a couple medical collectives open, and I went to a few of them. My brother was a grower, and he says, "What do you think about opening up a cannabis collective?" And I said, "No way." As far as I'm concerned, there's no protections around it. I would have to wrap my head around this legislation so hard and be so careful about how I operate that I would have to truly, get it before we do it. So I read the RCW codes and all of the laws that we had in Washington, and it's a bunch of legal jargon. You have to really go through it, and then go through it, and then go through it again for it to really sink in. So I probably read through it 50 times before it started making sense, and then I was like, okay, I got this. So we opened up our collective. We started out with some homegrown cannabis for a small amount of patients, and based on the way that I was running the dental facilities on the military bases, I knew that we had to have higher standards. And what I was seeing around the community was you've got these hole-in-the-wall places that nobody's putting any time or effort into because they're afraid that they're going to get the carpets ripped out from underneath them. They're not going to last very long. So you're going into these little hole-in-the-wall places that are kind of dingy. Some of them have Tupac posters on the wall. Some of the bud tenders are so dabbed out they can hardly even formulate a sentence to even speak to the patients that they're supposed to be attending to. And it was really embarrassing. So I said, okay, well, if we're going to do this, we're going to have to do it right and raise the standards and start absolutely testing everything. And that was back in 2011 for anybody who was really having conversations about microbial content or potency analysis. And if any of you guys have paid attention to numbers at all, if you're kind of a geek for numbers, you can take one cannabis plant and you can test it cola in 3 different spots, or test buds from the top part of the plant, the middle part of the plant, and the bottom plant, and you will get different results on that same plant. There is a variance. Typically the ratio is close, but there is a slight variance. So there's always going to be a little bit of a variance, but it's more, the testing standardization was more for patients to be able to learn about what they were taking in and what was working for them to be able to analog it. So, once upon a time ago, there's been layer chromatography. I don't think many people are using that form of testing, but you get more molecules to actually count. And so we were learning about THC in its psychoactive form, THCA, which is the acid precursor that's non-psychoactive, and what that does, and learning about all these little things that are nerdy and exciting, like, oh my gosh, this is helping with depression, great, or oh my gosh, THCV is this skinny molecule, because after it goes above 0.5% in these particular tests, it's actually curbing people's appetites, so that's wonderful.
Oh, I gotta remember that T.
THCV. So
it works.
So as soon as the community started getting a little bit more excited about cannabis, then our legislators started getting a little bit more excited about cannabis because they realized that there could be some type of an economic interest in it. And right away, they started having legislative hearings down in Olympia to try to tax medicine, and people were speaking up about it. Well, it's been 5 years between now and then, and we've seen them take two different subject areas, medical and recreational, and merge them. So medical has existed in Washington State since the mid-90s through Initiative 692. And that allowed people to have their home grows and act in collective gardens. And then 502 passed in 2012. Now, what most people don't comprehend is that if you have two subject areas of law, it is totally illegal to merge them under one umbrella. So,
Article 2, Section 7 in the Washington State Constitution?
I'm not sure off the top of my
that
head,
is.
but I know that it's in there.
I think that's it.
So, what our state did was merge the two subject areas, and by doing so, they really proved an injustice to our medical patients because they redefined what medical cannabis was to their own financial benefit. So now in the state of Washington, marijuana is anything above 0.3% THC by volume, and medical marijuana is anything below 0.3 THC by volume. So it is medical marijuana so long as it's not marijuana. That's their reasoning.
Now, is that written in that, or is that in the hemp act?
That is actually through session law that passed last year through SB 5052. Either
Well,
that
I know
or
in 5052 they define certain things, but I think it was defined as a hemp plant if it's below 0.3 THC.
that also.
There's also
And HIBA, which is
Yeah.
health and beauty aids, or HABA. So right now that puts cannabis patients in a pickle because this is what I've seen based on my experience. I know every person inherently has an endocannabinoid system built within their body. And all cannabis is medical, whether you're using it for medical or recreational purposes. Some people just don't understand that their recreational use is treating something in a medical fashion because they haven't been educated to really understand the full benefits of the plant and how it works. So we're in this conundrum where we've got recreational stores who are providing a tax benefit for people for marijuana that have to now be on a registry, and it's a huge mess. Patients are really upset because they don't want to be on a registry. Where is our protection? Years ago, there was a meeting with the UFCW. They were trying to get financially involved in sponsoring a bunch of legislation going through, and they're thinking, okay, well, we can get everybody riled together under our union to push language forward and see what industry standards are. And we had a few meetings and people from the governor's office were there, and I stood up and I said, where's our protection from arrest and prosecution first and foremost?
Amen.
So we cannot afford to have any more cannabis legislation pass through to where we're flooding the streets with accessibility to cannabis and only increasing the legalities that go along with it without ensuring the people that need it the most protections and acknowledgement of the facts that it actually really is benefiting people in medical ways. So when we speak about that, benefits in medical ways, we have to look at it from a research perspective as well. Well, also last year, through 5052, there was a slight loophole which allowed research to actually happen in Washington State. I don't have it in front of me right now, but if anybody's interested, I'll go through my notes and try to find it for you. It opens up research so we can actually finally do research for the first time in Washington State history. Unfunded, but we can do it. So I see this as a huge problem. To even qualify for medical cannabis in the state of Washington, you have to either be terminally ill or permanently debilitated, meaning you're not getting any better, and this is your last resort, and this is the thing that works for you, and you have chose this because that's how you would like to seek out the end of your days and for your own personal treatment. And no one should be able to tell you that you cannot do that. That's a huge problem.